a lot of y'all are aware that I was going to have to talk about the Chicago Bulls. My Chicago Bulls. The team, sometimes I sit back and I think, what if my parents didn't meet here? How how much more fun will basketball be if I wasn't a fan of this team? Now I'm not getting rid of my fandom. That would be the last thing I'd do. I am Chicago Bulls to the day that I no longer exist, you know? But boy, it has not been a great time. It has not been a great time since I was born in 96. You got a couple rings after that, but when I was conscious and starting to care about basketball, we have had three seasons where I was super, super excited. This season started off as bad as any season could possibly start off. First game of the year, we go against the young OKC Thunder, and they run us out of our own gym. Our home opener, everybody's hype. And guess what? I've attended every single home opener when it was available, because of course during the COVID year we couldn't go. Every single home opener for the last 5 seasons. I've been there until this year because I had grown tired of watching this team play. I watch at home, but as far as making the commute, because I don't live in Chicago anymore, y'all. I done made it out. You feel me? I'm in the burbs. So making the commute to the city to watch my favorite team lose by 20 points is something I don't want to do often. So I'm like, okay, it's a full slate, 13-game slate. I would rather stay home and put the Bulls on the big screen and watch all the other stuff across the association. That was the greatest call I could have made because I would have been so hot. I would have left that game mid-third quarter. So they lose by a ton of points to a young OKC team. And what happens? The fastest players-only meeting in the history of basketball. No exaggeration. Go look at the records. The fastest one in the history of nobody has ever, at least publicly, had a players-only meeting after the first game of the year. It happened here in Chicago. And Billy Donovan came to the presser. He tried to spin it to make it seem like this is a great thing. He was excited about it. Brother, that's not good. That's not good. So we lose the first game of the season. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine is saying, hey, we going to be better. Don't worry. In the second game of the year, they played against Toronto Raptors, and that was one of the most electric games of the year so far. It was so many swings where the Raptors started off 17-0 run, the Bulls going to 20-0 run, then the Raptors going to 17-0 run, and then the Bulls came back. They were down by 17 with 5 minutes to go. They go out, forced overtime, they win the game. Boom. I'm like, okay, I'm happy in the moment, but I understand that this is not going to last long. Then they play it back-to-back. Third game of the year, they go against the Detroit Pistons, and they get smoked again. Zach LaVine puts up 51.0 assists. Do you understand how hard it is to have 0 assists when you have the ball enough to put up 50? I digress. They get dominated by one of the youngest teams in the league. Kay Cunningham, Jalen Duren and company really smack the Bulls around. And when you have a guy put up 50 and you still lose by 17, that's going to get people talking. The problem I have with the Bulls is that we have a sample size of a season and a half saying that, hey, this core does not work. And yet the front office is still holding on to the half of a year where we had Lonzo Ball and we went into the All-Star break with the best record in the Eastern Conference. They're still holding on to that and saying like, hey, we can replicate that when we can't. I'm gonna be honest. Even when we were the 1 seed, go watch any of the videos. I was saying, this is not a contender. We're just having a good time. We're just having a good time. And since then, since Lonzo has been down, we have looked dreadful. Good enough to make the play-in, but that shouldn't be the goal. And 99% of NBA fans, NBA writers, or anybody with an opinion about the Chicago Bulls share the same sentiment that it is time for the Bulls to give it a rest. Nikola Vucevic signed an extension this offseason. It's a pretty good extension for Vucevic's production. I do want to give them credit for that. But he said, like, hey, the front office is saying that this might be our last hurrah. There's reports right before the season started that DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls are at a standstill with his contract negotiations. And I was like, yes. I don't want to extend DeMar DeRozan because that's just going to put us back into mediocrity. That's not DeMar's fault. That's the team that we built. So 99% of fans, of people that cover and everybody else is saying that it is time to blow it up. And there's still the 1% of people, or the people that are the 1% are the people in charge. They look at this team. They see that we selling tickets because Chicago, baby, we going to ride for our team. And they say, hey, we'll be all right. Before the season started, or after last season ended, right? We lose the play-in game to the Miami Heat. Shout out to the Heat. They go to the finals. You know the story. Artunis Karnisovas comes to the podium and he was asked at the season ending presser, what are we doing this offseason? And he said, well, we're going to address our biggest problems, which is our 3-point value. And then was another thing that, whatever. So the shot diet now. Last year, they were 29th in the league in 3-point attempts, right? 30% of their 100% of shots were 3-pointers, which is 29th in the entire association. And to remind you again, what year we're playing in, the 3-point shot is as important as any shot in basketball, not named a layup. It's as important as a layup at this moment, right? So they were 29th in the league in how many attempts they got up from three, and they were 26th in the percentage. So not only did we not get a lot of them up, we didn't hit them. It's like, okay, no big deal. No big deal. We'll be all right, right? They're changing the shot diet. We have people that should be good 3-point shooters, right? So the new season starts, and that is the number one thing on my priority list when I'm watching the Bulls play. I already know that we're not going to be good, but I'm like, okay, are they going to be people of their word? Because it wasn't even just Karnisovas. Billy Donovan also expressed that was his goal as the coach of the team. I'm like, okay, so this season, hey, 35% of our 3-point or our attempts from the field are 3-pointers. That's a full 5% higher. That's league average right now, right? We're shooting 28% on them, which is 29th. The volume is there. The percentage is not. I don't got the data to say if they're healthy shots, but they're getting them up. They're getting them up, and they're not falling. The half-court offense, the thing that it carried us last season to be a slightly sub-500 team, is gone. I watched Kay Cunningham, Killian Hayes, and Jaden Ivey walk to the rim at will. And then when the layup wasn't there, guess what? What was? Jalen Duren. So the half-court offense was the thing we held our hat on, and that's gone. And the offense is still as bad as it was last year. Actually, it's worse than it was last year. What is our identity? When you think about identities across basketball, usually a team that's been together for 3 seasons kind of have an idea of what their identity is. This Bulls team doesn't know. That is a problem that can only be fixed with trades, with movements, because this team has reached its pinnacle. I've buried the lead a little bit more. Patrick Williams. I've spewed the Patrick Williams propaganda for the past 4 years. The start of this season is as bad as it could be. Not just for the team, but for Pat. We're 3 games to the year. Remember, Patrick Williams is our starting power forward, right? He's a starting power forward. And, well, for the majority of these games, he ends up getting benched in the fourth quarter because Torrey Craig is just a better option. Billy Donovan said, we didn't bench Patrick Williams because we didn't want him to play, but it was just the best thing for the team at the time. Just meaning he was ass. Patrick Williams has played 3 games this season as the starting power forward on the team. Guys, he has not attempted a shot at the rim yet. He has not attempted a free throw yet. Do you know how hard it is to play as many minutes as Pat has played, to start on a team and not get one layup attempt, one dunk? I'm disappointed because, again, I think about the Chicago Bulls and I think about the potential of blowing it up. And the one thing I hang my hat on is like, hey, as long as we keep P. Will, we'll be all right. Zach Lowe last week or 2 weeks ago was saying that Patrick Williams wants a lot of money. We got to the deadline of the rookie extensions, and Patrick Williams was one of the players that did not get an extension done. Zach Lowe reporting is saying, hey, Patrick Williams wants more than $20 million a year. And I'm looking at this man average 3 points per game through 3 seasons. And I got to ask his people in charge, how can you get there where you believe that his value right now is over $20 million annually? Doesn't exist. And this is not the last we'll talk about the Bulls today, but I'm extremely, extremely disappointed. My boy Cone, shout out to 3 Cone, made a tweet that the Bulls are on pace to blow their team up by mid-November. And as much as I want to believe that, I do not believe that is the case. Knowing who's in charge and the moves that they've made over the last 4 seasons of them being in charge, that's just not the way they run their teams. If the Bulls are going to make trades, from my understanding of how they run things, it's going to be a retooling instead of a, hey, let's trade a piece here, let's trade a piece here, let's trade a piece here.